The sky over Europe, 1944. Bombers drone forward in tight formation. Contrails cut white scars across the blue. And somewhere far below, engines scream toward the edge of physics. This is not a battle that ever fully happened, but it almost did. Today's story begins with a question that haunted Allied pilots and German engineers alike. A question whispered in intelligence briefings and experimental hangars. What if the fastest fighter ever built had truly met the most successful fighter of the war? What if rocket met piston? What if Messerschmitt Me 163? Komet had battled the P-51 Mustang in open combat. This is the story of that collision between speed and endurance, between desperation and dominance, between theory and reality. And what might have happened if it had truly unfolded? First, we need to understand the moment. By late World War II, Germany was under relentless pressure. Daylight bombing raids carved through the Reich. Factories burned. Fuel vanished. Pilots died faster than they could be trained. The Allies, meanwhile, had solved a problem that once seemed impossible. They could escort bombers all the way to Berlin and back. The P-51 Mustang made that possible. It wasn't just a fighter, it was a system. Long range, high altitude, excellent visibility, devastating firepower, and most importantly, pilots who could loiter, hunt, and adapt. Against this, Germany reached for something radical, not an evolution, a leap. The Me 163 Komet, a rocket-powered interceptor, no propeller, no patience, just raw, terrifying speed. On paper, it was unstoppable. Let's talk about the Me 163. This aircraft broke the rules of aviation. It climbed almost vertically. It could exceed 950 kilometers per hour faster than any Allied aircraft of the time. Faster than most pilots could even comprehend. It had one mission. Get up fast, hit the bombers, get down! No dogfights, no escorts, no second chances. The Komet carried volatile rocket fuel so unstable that a hard landing could dissolve the aircraft and the pilot in seconds. Pilots wore protective suits not for combat, but for survival if the fuel leaked. Its powered flight lasted minutes, sometimes less than 5. After that, it became a glider, silent, unarmed against fighters, descending through enemy airspace. This was not a plane designed for sustained war. It was a weapon of panic. But imagine this. Imagine the Me 163 program maturing faster. Fuel stabilized. Pilots trained longer. Numbers increased. Now imagine Mustangs waiting above the bomber stream. And suddenly, the Komets arrive. The P-51 Mustang was built for a different philosophy. Where the Me 163 was a sprint, the Mustang was a marathon. Powered by the Packard-built Merlin engine, it thrived above 25,000 feet. It could stay there. Circle. Choose its fights. 650 caliber machine guns, excellent roll rate, strong dive performance, most importantly situational awareness. Mustang pilots weren't just defending bombers, they were hunting. They learned German tactics. They watched contrails. They pounced on climbing interceptors. So how does this matchup begin? Picture the encounter. Bombers at altitude, Mustangs spread wide, high cover established. Suddenly ground controllers shout warnings. Tiny specks erupt upward at impossible angles. The Me 163s are climbing at rates no Mustang can match. For a brief moment, the Komets own the vertical. They streak past escort fighters like meteors. No turning, no engagement. Their target is the bombers, and in that first pass, they are lethal. A single firing window. A high-speed closure rate. Heavy cannons tearing through aluminum and fuel tanks. Bombers explode. Crews never see what hit them. From the bomber perspective, it's terror without warning. But then something changes. The Me 163 engines cut out. Silence. Gravity takes over. And now the Mustangs move. Here is where theory meets consequence. The Me 163 cannot turn fight. It cannot climb again. It cannot run. Its speed advantage vanishes the moment fuel is gone. Now it glides. Fast, yes, but predictable. Mustang pilots dive from above. They position themselves ahead, not behind. They learn quickly that chasing a Komet directly is pointless. Instead, they wait. They anticipate. They attack during landing approaches. This is not speculation. This did happen in limited form historically. Allied pilots learned to patrol known Komet bases. They shot Komets down while landing flaps extended fuel tanks empty. In our what-if scenario, this becomes systematic. Now let's walk through the cause and effect. Step 1. Me 163s inflict sudden bomber losses. This forces changes in Allied formations, tighter boxes, adjusted altitudes, increased escort density near Komet zones. Step 2. Mustangs adapt tactics. They stop chasing speed. They start controlling space. High loiter positions, delayed engagement, ambush at descent paths. Step 3. German pilots face impossible odds. Every mission becomes a gamble. Not just against bombers, but against time. Survive the ascent. Survive the firing pass. Survive the landing. Losses mount. Step 4. Logistics collapse. Rocket fuel production is complex. Facilities are bombed. Pilot training is slow and dangerous. Each Komet lost represents not just an aircraft, but a trained specialist and irreplaceable materials. Meanwhile, Mustangs keep coming. Step 5. Strategic impact diminishes. Despite fear and spectacle, the Me-163 cannot stop the bombing campaign. It disrupts. It terrifies. But it does not control the sky. Air superiority is not about speed alone. It is about endurance. This is the critical comparison. The Me-163 represents peak technological audacity, a glimpse of the future. The P-51 represents operational mastery, the present optimized. One breaks records, the other wins wars. Even if Me-163s had been deployed in greater numbers, they would not have replaced fighters like the Bf-109 or FW-190. They were too specialized, too dangerous, too short-lived in combat. The Mustang, by contrast, shaped the air war. It didn't just escort bombers. It destroyed the Luftwaffe's ability to respond. So what does this battle really tell us? It shows the limits of wonder weapons. Technology can change how wars are fought, but not why they are won. Speed without sustainability is a spark. Endurance builds the fire. The Me-163 pointed toward the rocket age, toward missiles, toward space flight. The P-51 closed the chapter on propeller-driven air dominance. One looked forward, one finished the job. And now the final question. If Germany had survived longer, if jet and rocket technology had matured faster, if endurance and speed had finally merged, would the skies of the Cold War have looked very different? And in the next great leap of aerial warfare, what happens when speed no longer has limits at all? That is a story for the next What If.